Hello everybody, welcome back to the channel. In this video, I'm going to be going over who I believe are some of the best grapplers, and in some cases, some of the most underrated grapplers inside the UFC today. I've heard some of your criticisms of the past video I made over best strikers, or strikers with the most KO power, and to clear up some of the confusion, I'm going to be showing, for most of the fighters on this tier list, the best example from their career that, to me, puts them in the tier that they belong to. But before we begin, please consider a like, comment, subscribe. All the footage I'm going to show in this video, I make no claim of ownership. I'm doing it purely for video content. Please watch every video that I'm going to show in this video. Helps out my channel, helps them out. And with that out of the way, let's get started. You see, the first person that we're going to be showing on this tier list is going to be Bo Nickal. And I think that's a good place to start because Bo Nickal's grappling ability is the biggest thing. We know he's good. We know Bo Nickal is going to be one of the better grapplers in the UFC, but it's a matter is he going to be good enough at that high level to submit like a Hamzat Chimaev or an Ikram Aliskerov when he gets up there? And I don't truly know. I will say this though. I would argue Bo Nickal is going to be in our A tier. That's a little bit of, like, thinking into the future, but I genuinely believe Bo Nickal, at the very least, is going to out-grapple just about everybody at middleweight and match somebody like Hamzat Chimaev and Ikram Aliskerov and make it a striking match. And if they do get the better of him, it's going to be through there. Probably the best example that I've seen is right here. I'm going to turn down the sound because I don't want to get copyrighted. So, as we're watching, this is from his Dana White Contender match. This is the one where he goes for the overhand right into the single. Let me pause up. So the one thing that Bo Nickal does really well for somebody that's just starting out, let's look past the wrestling real quick. Like, we know he's good at wrestling. He is very good at judging at what he's going to do next off of feints. This entire beginning of the first 20 seconds is him just throwing feints, trying to figure out what we're going to do. He knows that he's going up against a collegiate champion wrestler that really he has no business going up against. And he's going to disguise a takedown while this guy knows he's going to be going for a takedown. On pause. Every single time he's throwing his hand out, he's putting his hand out to stop a potential single leg. But how he disguises it, I really like this. Every single time he's shooting his hand low, he thinks he's going to be going for a single leg. The one time he goes for the single leg, he throws the overhand right. I'm going to try to catch this frame just as when it happens. You see, that hurt. People will argue over how clean was that strike. I guarantee you that hurt because it's the shots that you don't see coming that hurt the most. You see, now we're in a position where Bo Nickal, a guy who is a collegiate wrestling champion, has your leg. This is where you start discussing whether this is what you want to do with your life. Because understand that there's no getting out of this. Let's go on. Gets him to the ground, immediately starts swarming him, uses the guillotine to leverage into a full mount. But, as you can see here, he doesn't actually get the guillotine because he has his leg over his opponent's right shoulder. Now, there's a problem here. You can hit a mounted triangle. I think that would have been better positionally. But I don't think Beard understands the amount of danger he is in. Because the first thing this man does is immediately when he's able to get himself back into it, turns it immediately into a triangle. You see, the problem with a mounted triangle, if he's not going to go for it, you've immediately cut the angle for him. All he has to do is secure his left arm into this leg. He's successfully cut the angle. Good luck getting out of that. Immediately cutting the angle. He is perpendicular to his opponent. He fucks up a little bit right here, and he corrects himself. When you're going for a triangle, you actually want to almost get an underhook on it. That would be the name for it. You don't want to get an over. It's just not as secure. So he goes for this, corrects himself, immediately goes for the underhook. Yeah, no, you're done. I know that's on Dana White's Contender Series, but at the same time, he is attacking multiple different submissions. He goes from guillotine, mounted guillotine, uses the guillotine to leverage into a position, goes for a mounted triangle. His opponent doesn't understand that, and then he was able to hit a triangle off of his back. Like, that is impressive, the way he uses feints to disguise his takedowns, even though everybody knows he's going to take them down. That is impressive to me. Even if you don't like Bo Nickal, you kind of have to give it to him. Next up is Brandon Royval. This is probably my favorite finish from him. So to give you, like, what's happened so far, he's taking him down. Bad position for Royval here. But Royval's flexibility is insane. You see, he's trying to hit a go-go plata off a weird rubber guard. The problem with that is he didn't have his foot on his hip, so it wasn't a legit rubber guard. Immediately when this fails, maybe this was all a part of his plan to begin with, it might be, he enters into the leg. You see, if you're going to go into the leg, the one mistake he made is if you're going for a calf slicer, which I believe he was going for, or it's either called a Mikey lock or just a heel hook. If you get this onto this side, the problem is here, he's able to slip the knee line. There's no, like right now you're just weighing him down. There's nothing really Royval can do. But he has gotten successfully out of danger. He has gone from a terrible position being on your back to now they've disengaged. He gets the sweep. Now he's coming up. He is threatening a guillotine. The way he defends this is smart. You see, we're going to see later on in the video, if you're going to go for a guillotine, he does really well here. Once you have the guillotine on your right side, you go for the opposite leg over. So if I have a guillotine, your head is on my right side, I need the left leg over to secure this guillotine. That is what he is doing. But Royval, being on bottom as his opponent Snell is going to leverage into a mounted guillotine, controls the leg. He uses that to get his position back. You're going to notice I do have a preference for like flowy type of grappling where it's just a smooth transition to a smooth transition, and this isn't even the smoothest. But how he does this, keeping himself accountable, even like this is a bad position to be in. You can still get submitted from here. But the way he gets out, he makes it seem effortless, and he attacks his own. This is what I mean. Perfect. Got the guillotine on the right side, throws his left leg up, and where his opponent messed up earlier, and where Royval was able to, account for this mistake, is he has his right leg across the hip. This is tight, and that's how he gets this guillotine beautiful. I think Royval is actually, in terms of just pure grappling talent, he is the top of his division when it comes to grappling. He is with the Morenos, he is with the Pantojas. And I think one thing I'm going to do different for this video is, and I'm not going to go for pound, I'm going to go respectively to their division. He is an A tier for his division, not an S tier. I would give that to, honestly, Pantoja did prove that he was just a little bit better in the grappling department. I think A tier is fair for Royval. Just let it be known, a lot of the guys on here are just good grapplers all around. But certain grappling is going to be judged more fairly than other forms of grappling. You'll see later on. Next up is Charles Oliveira. We have a lot to pick from here. Charles, I think one of my favorite finishes he had is against Dustin Poirier. Let me see. Let me get to right here. Clouds what he's doing with the strike, goes in for the single leg. Goes for the body lock. He's going to transfer onto his back. He's trying to get the whizzer on the arm. He misses his opportunity. Gets him to the cage. Now, we're in Charles's wheelhouse here. This is just bad. Immediately isolates a leg. He's going to be chasing the back here. Let me skip forward. Still has only one leg. The moment he secures the other boot. Oh, I skipped too far. The moment he puts the other boot in, done. He actually didn't get the other boot in. I made a mistake on that one. But Charles, when he gets your back, it's just done. I mean, the only other person that's going to be on this list is going to be Islam Makhachev. And styles make fights here. And Islam is so good from the top position that he will submit anybody. It doesn't even matter if it's Charles Oliveira. If he is hurt and Charles is on his back, Islam is going to get it done. But Charles is going to be in our S tier purely because how would you not put Charles in S tier for having the most submissions in UFC history? Like, you kind of just have to. I'm aware that he has weaknesses, but bro, it's Charles Oliveira. You kind of have to do this. Brian Ortega. Now, I actually couldn't find any, like, footage of him that that the UFC themselves didn't put out. So I can only say, like, his best performance. His best performances, I would probably say, I mean, they call him T-City for a reason. To get as close as he did submitting Alexander Volkanovski, he is one of the best in the UFC. I would say best submission artist in his division. However, I do think he is declining a little bit because of somebody called Yair Rodriguez. I would say he sits among some of the best grapplers. Make no mistake about it. I'm in between S tier and A tier. I think I'm going to have to go A tier above Bo Nickal and above Royval. I think that's fair. I think just in between these two. Next up is Alexander Volkanovski. Volkanovski's biggest flex, honestly, is to not get submitted by Brian Ortega and Islam Makhachev. Honestly, yeah. It's not that his actual submission game is amazing, but the fact that his submission defense is just spectacular. He trains a lot with Craig Jones. Craig Jones is one of the best, like, grapplers in the world. I can understand that. Trains over at B Team. I would say Volkanovski is a solid B tier. Like, he doesn't use his grappling offensively like the guys up here. He's not as dominant as, like, a Charles. Still, probably the best fighter on this tier list overall. But as far as grappling goes, I would say a B tier just because his grappling defense is just at another level. Yair Rodriguez. Okay. Let me see if I can find that. Oh, I guess I don't have that. Okay. Yair Rodriguez, probably best display of grappling is probably his guard. I would say Yair Rodriguez has one of the best guards in the UFC right now. The way that he can be in a terrible position and make it an offensively sound position. What do I mean by that? Look at his fight with Brian Ortega and Josh Emmett. Both of those, he was off his back, and he was the one controlling the pace of the fight. Even Craig Jones himself was like, yeah, no. Yair Rodriguez has a great guard. Mexican fighters have a phenomenal guard. What they use in MMA to make it an offensively sound guard and how they're leveraging submissions off of strikes. And that's what he was able to do against Josh Emmett and Brian Ortega. I know they called it a TKO. It was an armbar. I know it's being petty, and you're going to say, oh, he dislocated his shoulder. Bro, I've dislocated my shoulders in arm bars before. An armbar is basically a lever. If you put the fulcrum point closer to your shoulder is going to get dislocated before your elbow does. It just happens, dude. But I understand why Ortega doesn't want to be on his record that Yair submitted Brian Ortega, the supposed best submission artist in the division. And I still think he is, even if he did submit him. But I think he just had an off night. But Yair would have won either way just because I think he's just more well-rounded. I think overall he's not as good as A tier. I'm going to have to say C tier, actually. I would say C tier is pretty fair. Purely because he did fight Volkanovski, and that guard didn't do shit in that fight. No, like, Volkanovski is... like, I think Yair has a great guard. I think he has good submissions to leverage, but I think if you're comparing the grappling IQ between Volkanovski and Yair Rodriguez, I think Volkanovski takes it just a little bit. I know Yair has that submission over a arguably higher level opponent in Josh Emmett, and I can't remember the last person Volkanovski submitted. And I think that argues C tier, but defense is just crazy. I might move him up to B tier later on, but we'll see. Bryce Mitchell. Ooh, who do I have? I think I got a good one for this one. That's Moreno, Ilia. Oh, there we go. Okay. One of my favorites. So all you need to know, Bryce Mitchell gets a single leg. He's able to get the takedown. Oh, let me turn down the sound on that. You see, Bryce Mitchell is so good at flowing from position to position because, don't take this as an insult, he knows he's not going to outpower anybody. Bryce Mitchell is not a strong guy. He just isn't. But the way he's able to, like, go put his legs through his opponent's legs, leverage that into positions, without, like, he makes it look so effortless. He goes from half guard, full mount, easily. His opponent is coming up into a single leg, but you're giving Bryce Mitchell your back, which is a bad news. Bryce Mitchell goes from full mount, goes into a turtle. Now, what he does that not a lot of people notice, he puts his left leg through his opponent's right leg. That helps him control the angle of his opponent's leg and therefore the opponent's angle, because now they're perpendicular to each other, which in grappling you want to be more perpendicular for submission and like position preferences. But just know this is a great move. The way that he was able to do that, like, small detail means a lot. Immediately has the seatbelt. His opponent is not getting this single leg. He lets go because he's aware of the danger he is in. Bryce Mitchell is in a great spot right now. Immediately feeds his hook. Puts the other boot in. Takes the back. He messes up a little bit here. He's able to get the back. Loses one. Now, if he meant to go for the twister all along, which I don't think he was, this is amazing. But I think what happened is he messed up going for the rear naked choke. His opponent is trying to spin out. He has a triangle on his opponent's left leg. And now he's going to enter into a twister. Controls the arm. He's going to put his opponent's arm behind his head. He has a good lockdown on the leg. The moment he puts this over, he's going to... I think you guys know the rest. Honestly, yeah. If you've never been put into a twister, just know it is so painful, dude. Like, it feels like... I don't even know how... Like, imagine you're a piece of pasta and you're just getting broken over and over again. You will tap to a twister. Pure Jiu-Jitsu. In his division, I'm going to say high B tier. Just because he's able to offensively use his jiu-jitsu better than Volk, and I think he has good submission defense. I just don't think he's necessarily strong for his division in featherweight. Grappling IQ, though, pretty good. His grappling carries his career. That's just a sad fact. Dan Ige was piecing him up. Josh Emmett knocked him into a different dimension. And who we're going to cover in the next few fights is Ilia Topuria, and we'll understand when we get there. But I would say a high B tier is fair for Bryce Mitchell. Figueiredo. Ooh, I got a good one here. Okay. This is the famous scramble clip. I have this on 0.75 just to show this off. Ooh. Okay. Right here. So, Brandon Moreno enters into a single leg. Under normal circumstances, entering into a single leg with your head on the outside is a no-no because you can get guillotined fairly easily, especially against somebody like Figueiredo. But what he does, hand across the back, he's able to initiate a trip, gets him to the ground. As he's coming up, though, Figueiredo is able to get the underhook, powers off this leg, and reverses position. Immediately, Moreno is able to get double butterfly hooks. From here, he's able to get a sweep, puts his foot on the hip of Figueiredo, gets his other foot to trip out this foot, grabs, sweep. Figueiredo's just so damn explosive and athletic. Before Moreno has time to even get into position, immediately latches up a guillotine. A tier. A tier, dude. That is crazy. Honestly, actually, just because Bo Nickal hasn't really done anything, I'm going to say bottom of A tier no matter what. I'd even point Royval over Bo Nickal, for now at least. Figueiredo above Royval. This one's debatable. But no, Figueiredo is definitely an A tier grappler. Colby Covington. Okay, this is where we talk about different types of grappling. Colby Covington is really good at using positions to break his opponent. And when he's broken his opponent, then he's going to try to submit him. If he does not successfully break you, he will not submit you, and that's how you get a Masvidal matchup. And honestly, I don't even think I'm going to sow that. Just know that Colby Covington, as far as a pure grappling, I would say a very high B tier. He just doesn't have a lot of submissions that he uses. And, to be fair, he submitted Robbie Lawler. Even the people that he's submitting, I'm fairly skeptical of. He didn't submit Jorge Masvidal, which I thought he was going to and break him down. He broke him, didn't submit him, though. Yeah, I'm gonna say high B tier. I might even put Bryce Mitchell over Colby Covington. His cardio is what carries his career. That's just a fact. Ilia Topuria. Right here. I love this clip. Oh, audio down. Okay. Ilia Topuria is the personification of having underrated jiu-jitsu, and your boxing is just so crazy that people forget how good of a grappler you are. He out-grapples Bryce Mitchell here. Bryce Mitchell goes for the takedown. Ilia Topuria has the head. He's going to get a underhook and an overhook, if I remember correctly. Oh, there we go. This is where it is. So, understand here. They are both exhausted. Both exhausted here. Ilia Topuria has the underhook on this arm. No, it has the overhook on this arm, underhook on this arm. He is getting perpendicular. His head is pointing this way. Bryce Mitchell's head is pointing this way. This is going to matter in a second. Plants, throws. There is nothing. There's nothing that Bryce Mitchell is doing that is stopping him from having his back thrown to the mat. Goes. That's not even pure strength. That is just technique. Immediately enters into side control. Now, what Bryce Mitchell should be doing, but I understand bro is exhausted, and I think he was trying to do this, get his leg to go over, enter into a half guard, go into a lockdown, go into a dogfight, and maybe from there fight out. Ilia knows this because this happened earlier in the fight. He goes immediately to a knee on belly, which sucks. It's really bad. Bryce Mitchell is looking to wrestle out of this. Sprawl. Goes straight into a back attack. Boom, boom. Let me see if I can get to a finish. Uses the head and arm. I'm probably going to have to put a filter on this. Head and arm. Leverage the position. Head and arm choke. Done. Beautiful. Super underrated jiu-jitsu, dude. Yes, better than Bryce Mitchell. Honestly. Better than Bryce Mitchell. I would say near the same tier as a Volkanovski. It's more anti-jiu-jitsu that he has just so he doesn't get submitted and keep the fight standing. But he does have submissions to threat. Islam Makhachev is next. Okay. Islam Makhachev's best submission win over the best talent is easily Charles Oliveira. Knocks him. So, normal human beings would not want to do this to Charles because he has the highest amount of submissions in the lightweight division. Islam doesn't give a fuck. Immediately, when Charles tries to get a butterfly hook, Islam knows this. Cuts through his guard like a hot knife through butter. Immediately. Right now, he has a half guard. There is relative safety here. But I say relative because that's not even really safe. He uses his right leg to peel. There's nothing that Charles can do to punish this. He's going to get out of this. Boom. Immediately in the full mount. You see, once you have a head and arm choke and you are on top, you want to get into side control because then the angle's been cut. It's a lot like a normal triangle. The moment this man's knees hits the mat, he's tapping. I could not imagine the absolute bear squeeze that Islam has. And yes, he's an S tier. If you submit Charles Oliveira, you are instantly an S tier. The only reason that Charles is above Islam is because the amount of people that Charles has submitted, the amount of talent he has submitted. Islam submitted Charles, and I think that's a styles make fights matchup. I know that sounds like a cope. Hear me out. Pure jiu-jitsu, I think Charles wins. Islam submits Charles Oliveira. S tier. They're both S tiers. Can we agree on that? Brandon Moreno. Honestly, what I sowed for Figueiredo, you can give to Brandon Moreno. And I think for there, I'm going to put them about even. Moreno better than Royval. A tier. Cyril Gane. Oh, I just wanted to put Cyril Gane on here kind of just to clown on the heavyweight division. Imagine getting 2 title shots in your career and not knowing how to defend. Well, even if he got submitted by John Jones either way, at least defend the guillotine by controlling the wrist. Simple as that. That's all you had to do. For that, you're just going D tier. Heavyweight is the only division where you cannot use basic guillotine defense and you get 2 title shots and you are still the #1 contender. D tier. Easily. Sean Brady. Okay. I can't sow any of his fights because I think I will get copyright striked for that because the UFC didn't put it out. Sean Brady completely and utterly nullified the grappling of Kelvin Gastelum. That's what he did. You can call his fight boring, I understand. I like that type of fight because I'm into grappling. Like, look at the ears, brother. But, Sean Brady is a spectacular grappler. He really is. His grappling carries his career, though, and I want to see him fight some more high-level guys. I'm going to say high B tier purely because he is the most offensive out of everybody else. I think pure grappling-wise, I do believe Sean Brady beats Colby Covington, pure grappling. It just, honestly, that might be a good fight. Sean Brady, high B tier because he's more offensive grappling than anybody else, and the way he flows from position to position into a submission when he breaks you down is perfect. High B tier, awesome. Hamzat Chimaev. Okay, honestly, just watch the whole Hamzat Chimaev versus Li Jingliang fight. Best performance, best showcase of his dominance. Even the Kamaru Usman fight was great. He is the best grappler in the first round. If he could fight an entire fight for 3 rounds like he does in the first round, he's an S tier easily. But I'm going to say low A tier because the drop-off in speed, the drop-off in technique, and the drop-off in pace is so dramatic from round 1 to round 2, and from round 2 to round 3, he's a practically different fighter. I think I have to put him here. And the way he grapples is very taxing, and I think that's a big part of it. I don't think he has to come up with excuses. Low A tier, though. Sean O'Malley. Sean O'Malley is a C tier. Why do I say that? So, he has submitted Takanori Gomi, a legend. And he makes a smart read. Okay, let's take a look at this. So just know, throughout this entire match, Takanori Gomi kept on going for swing single legs. Goes for it here. He's not able to get connection, so he disengages and hopes that Takanori Gomi is going to take the bait and go for the single leg again. He does, immediately. He does this, immediately starts tacking a guillotine. He does. Once he's able to get both his hands around, this is what's going to happen. Sean O'Malley is going to take his left knee, staple it to his waist, and throw his right leg over and cut the angle and go for a high elbow guillotine. Wait. Yeah, high elbow guillotine, not a head and arm. This is so tight, you will go out in 8 seconds. Done. Clockwork. Less than 8 seconds. Done. If you submit Takanori Gomi, you're immediately on this tier list. I'm not going to say B tier because how much have we seen him grapple in his career? But he's definitely at a Yair Rodriguez level. And I'll be real with you. The fact that there is like some murmurings that if Sean O'Malley beats Chito Vera, he wants to fight Ilia Topuria if he beats Volk. That is such a great fight, and I hope it happens. So yeah, C tier, Sean O'Malley. Aljamain Sterling. Aljamain Sterling's best submission, easily, best display of grappling IQ, is against Corey Sandhagen, another dude who has crazy fight IQ. So what's going to happen here? Corey Sandhagen is going to throw a kick. Catches. He catches the kick. Goes in. How quick this is. Catches the kick. He's going to take his head, go under this arm to take the back. Boom, immediately. It's to the point that Corey Sandhagen can't even get a whizzer in. I believe he does. Yep, right here. Gets him up against the cage to take him down. Boom. You see, it's going to be hard to transfer over to the back without threatening a takedown. So that's why this arm is threatening his far leg to almost go for an ankle pick, and he's going to suit his right arm over. Problem is we're on a cage. He does get rid of this balance for a second. Threatens to take his back. So Corey Sandhagen freaks out a little bit here, gives up his back, immediately 2 boots in, and I think the rest is history. Oh, I don't believe this is a hot take. Aljamain Sterling has the best body triangle, probably one of the best body triangles in MMA. How quickly he puts it on, it's like a boa constrictor, dude. Yeah. I'm going to put him up here. Yeah, no. He goes in A tier. Yeah, I defend my pick here. Aljamain Sterling is an A tier. The only thing is if we're going to judge him off featherweight, he hasn't done anything at featherweight. But I'm going to say off the totality of his career, he was able to do this to Corey Sandhagen and do this to Petr Yan, just not get the submission. Yes, A tier. Shavkat Rakhmonov. Whoo, do I have that? No, I don't. Damn it. Okay. Best submission against Jeff Neal. No. Best submission is against Wonderboy. That's why I can't find the footage, purely because I don't think the UFC is going to allow that to be seen yet. But Shavkat submitting Wonderboy for the first time in his career instantly makes you a B tier above Colby Covington. And yeah, I think this is pretty fair. Shavkat above Colby because Shavkat is more offensive, is better at offensive grappling than Colby is. Colby's only going to submit you if he breaks your will before that. Shavkat, however, give him one opening, dude. One opening. They were standing when he fought Jeff Neal. The only reason that choke works against Jeff Neal is because Shavkat has the IQ to understand that the height discrepancy between them and the posture of Jeff Neal at that moment is the only thing that made that bully choke possible. I know it's not called a bully choke, but that's a name for it. But the way that Shavkat was able to go for that takes IQ. Yeah. I know that sounds like a little bit of a glaze session right there, but B tier Shavkat Rakhmonov, dangerous, dude. Umar Nurmagomedov. Okay, this one's difficult because I know Umar's better than O'Malley when it comes to grappling. I know he's better than Yair. If he submits Corey, then I'll put him in B tier. This is tough. Do I put him at bottom B tier? You know what? I feel like if I put him in C tier, people are going to get mad. So I'm going to put him very bottom of B tier. If he submits Corey Sandhagen, I'll put him in A tier. Okay? So if you're watching this in the future and Umar submits Corey Sandhagen, just move him up to A tier real quick. Magomed Ankalaev. This is going to sound real mean, but Magomed Ankalaev is just the bigger version of Islam Makhachev, just not as good. Like, I guess best grappler. Dude, I don't know. I'm going to say B tier, actually. You got submitted by Paul Craig. Like, Brennan Allen did better against Paul Craig. No. Let me rephrase that. Magomed Ankalaev lost to Paul Craig via triangle. Brennan Allen dominated Paul Craig like Magomed Ankalaev. Just didn't F up like Magomed did. And the mistake that Magomed made, yes, it does happen. That's just low grappling IQ at that point. I know you're exhausted. That's why I'm putting him at B tier, below Sean Brady. I think I was fair here. I don't think there's any controversial moves here outside of the Umar at B tier and Hamzat at A tier and not S tier. Hamzat hasn't done enough to be S tier for me. You know what? Bo Nickal, bottom of A tier. I think I weighed his collegiate wrestling a little bit too high. Fine, I'll put Hamzat over Bo Nickal. Bo Nickal's barely A tier. Yep, okay. I think we're good here. Tell me what you think in the comment section below. I know there's a lot of guys that didn't make the list that arguably should have, but I don't want this to be an hour-long video. Thank you guys for watching. If you want a tier list that you want me to do, put it in the comment section below. Thank you for supporting these videos. Thank you for watching. And with that out of the way, adios, guys.